This movie ended her entire career. This one destroyed his overnight. And this actor? He played Superman and still couldn't save his own career. These are 10 classic films that didn't just fail, they took the actors down with them.
Baby, nice dress.
Thanks. I bought it at Versace.
Faye Dunaway. In 1981, Mommy Dearest didn't just flop. It rewrote Faye Dunaway's entire career. She wasn't an unknown actress chasing attention. She wasn't trying to break into Hollywood. She was already established, respected, awarded, and trusted to carry major films. Which is why what happened next felt so sudden. Her performance was intense, explosive, almost theatrical in a way audiences weren't expecting. But instead of seeing a transformation into Joan Crawford, viewers saw something else, something exaggerated, something uncomfortable. And that confusion turned into backlash fast. Critics didn't hold back. The film was mocked, and Dunaway became the center of it. She won Worst Actress. But the award wasn't the real damage. The real damage was perception, because overnight, casting directors stopped seeing her as a serious leading actress and started seeing risk. Years later, Dunaway admitted the film gave people the wrong impression of who she was. Once that image changed, she could never fully take it back. One movie didn't just fail her, it followed her. And what happened next was even harsher, because the next actor didn't just lose roles, she was blamed for everything. Elizabeth Berkley. In 1995, Showgirls wasn't supposed to fail. It had the same creative team behind Basic Instinct. It had a major studio push, and it had a breakout star ready to take over Hollywood. That star was Elizabeth Berkley. At the time, she was transitioning from TV to film. This was her moment, and she committed completely. Every scene, every choice, every risk, nothing was held back. But when the movie came out, everything turned. The reviews weren't just negative, they were brutal. Critics mocked the film, audiences rejected it, and almost immediately the blame locked onto one person, her. Not the director, not the writer, not the studio that approved everything. She was ridiculed in interviews, torn apart in the media, and quietly shut out of future opportunities. But here's what makes this different. She didn't go off script. She didn't make rogue decisions. She did exactly what she was hired to do. And when it failed, everyone else stepped back and let her take the fall alone. Within months, her rising career didn't just slow down, it collapsed. And if that feels unfair, the next story proves it wasn't an exception. It was a pattern. Shannen Doherty. In 1995, Mallrats was supposed to be a career reset. For Shannen Doherty, it came right after she left a massive hit TV show and tried to pivot into film. She already had recognition, she already had momentum. All she needed was one strong movie role to confirm she could carry a film career. Instead, the movie flopped hard. But what made it worse wasn't just the box office numbers. It was perception, because she was the most recognizable face in the cast. The failure didn't feel like a film failure. It felt like her failure. And once that narrative formed, it stuck. Years later, Doherty admitted the impact was immediate. Doors stopped opening, opportunities disappeared, and the momentum she had built in television didn't translate into film at all. She described it simply: when the movie died, so did her film career. Not gradually, immediately. And the next case shows something even more brutal. When leaving TV for movies doesn't just fail, it completely backfires. David Caruso. At one point, David Caruso had everything lined up for movie stardom. He had just walked away from TV success, betting everything on becoming a leading man in Hollywood films. That gamble led him straight into Jade. On paper, it looked like a big move, an ambitious thriller with a major studio push and a serious leading role. But when it released, it didn't just underperform, it collapsed. The box office response was weak, the reviews were worse, and suddenly the momentum Caruso had built was gone. But the most damaging part wasn't even the failure itself. It was what happened afterward. Nothing. No new offers, no follow-up projects, no second chance to correct course. Caruso later described it as silence from Hollywood. The industry didn't criticize him loudly, it simply stopped calling altogether. And in that environment, silence doesn't mean neutrality. It means rejection. He eventually returned to television, but the film star trajectory he was chasing never recovered. And next we look at something even more unexpected, when one performance that wasn't even a career goal ends up reshaping an entire future. Sofia Coppola. For Sofia Coppola, acting was never the goal, so when she was suddenly cast in The Godfather Part 3, it wasn't a carefully planned career move, it was a last-minute decision made under pressure, stepping into a role that already had huge expectations attached to it. She played Mary Corleone, a character placed right at the emotional center of the film's ending. But once the movie released, the reaction to her performance was immediate and harsh. Critics described it as inexperienced, out of place, unconvincing in a film that demanded precision. And because the movie itself carried massive cultural weight, the backlash didn't stay small. It became part of the film's identity. What makes this case different is that Coppola wasn't chasing acting fame in the first place. She wasn't trying to build a long-term screen career, but the criticism still hit in the same way it did for career actors. It shaped how she was perceived overnight. She only acted once more in a major film afterward, before stepping away completely. And instead of ending her story, this failure redirected it entirely into one of the most respected directing careers in modern Hollywood, Rupert Everett. By the late 1990s, Rupert Everett was in a rare position in Hollywood. He had critical respect, growing fame, and something the industry was only beginning to figure out how to handle: openly gay leading actors being positioned for mainstream romantic comedies. That momentum led to the next best thing. On paper, it looked like a bold, modern Hollywood romance, a high-profile pairing, a major studio push, a chance to cement Everett as a true box office lead. But when the film was released, everything collapsed at once. Critics rejected it, audiences didn't connect with it, and the tone of the film became a problem in itself, something that didn't land with the public the way the studio expected. And just like that, the momentum stopped. Everett later described the experience as a kind of professional disappearance. One moment he was being discussed as a rising star, and the next, he felt invisible in the industry he was still physically part of. Not because he stopped working entirely, but because he stopped being offered those kinds of roles, the kind that change careers. And next, we go from fading momentum to something even more extreme, when being part of two massive hits at once still isn't enough to secure a career. Lea Thompson. In the mid-1980s, Lea Thompson was in one of the strongest positions any young actor could hope for. She had just appeared in Back to the Future, one of the biggest films of the decade, a global hit that should have opened every door in Hollywood. And almost immediately after, she followed it with something very different: Howard the Duck. On paper, it was a major studio production, high budget, heavy marketing, and positioned as a big crossover hit. But when it released, it didn't land. The reaction was fast and brutal. Critics tore it apart, audiences were confused, and the film quickly became known as one of the most infamous disappointments of the era. For Thompson, the timing made it worse. She went from starring in a cultural phenomenon to being attached to one of its most talked about failures in just a single year. And even though she continued acting afterward, the shift in perception was immediate. She was no longer seen as a guaranteed leading lady for major studio films. The industry had already moved on. And next, we look at a rising comedy star whose momentum didn't just slow down, it completely stopped after one badly received body swap film: Judge Reinhold. By the late 1980s, Judge Reinhold was positioned as one of Hollywood's most reliable comedy rising stars. He had already delivered strong supporting roles in major hits like Beverly Hills Cop and Ruthless People, and the industry was actively building him toward leading man status in studio comedies. That trajectory led to Vice Versa. The concept was simple: a father and son swap bodies in a fantasy comedy setup. A high-concept, family-friendly release designed to push Reinhold into full leading roles. But when the film came out, it didn't deliver the expected success. Critics were underwhelmed, audiences didn't respond strongly, and the momentum behind Reinhold's career began to collapse almost immediately. What changed wasn't just perception, it was opportunity. Reinhold later described the aftermath in a very direct way. The offers stopped coming. The industry shift happened quietly, but completely. Not a gradual slowdown, a full stop. And instead of moving up into bigger roles, he found himself stepping away from the leading man track entirely. Even he admitted it felt like Hollywood simply moved on without explanation. And next, we move from fading comedy momentum to something far more personal, when a single change in appearance quietly rewrites an entire career trajectory. Right after becoming a global star in Dirty Dancing, Jennifer Grey was in the strongest position of her career. She had fame, industry attention, and the kind of momentum most actors never reach. But then she took on Wind, a sailing drama that, on its own, wasn't expected to define her career. especially given the scale of the role and the attention around the film. And in Hollywood terms, that's what makes this case so unusual. Even when you play one of the most famous characters in the world, it still doesn't guarantee what comes next.